After running away from home, 15-year-old Yoon, first-year student at a girls' high school in Gimhae, suffered terrible violence and bullying from her peers. Before her last breath, she expressed a desire to go back home. Even after her death, a long time passed before going back to her father's arms. The frightening fact of these crimes is that they were committed by immature kids, who damaged Yoon's body and secretly buried her body in unimaginable ways. In only a little over a month since she had left home, one is left to wonder what could have happened. The misery begins. A meeting gone wrong. Last May, an investigator from the Changwon Regional Police Station, Shin Myung-ho, chief of the criminal department, made a statement saying that those jailed for the damage to Yoon's body after committing acts of violence and murder are 15-year-old Yang, 15-year-old Hyo, and 15-year-old Jong. Also jailed for the same crime at Taejeon Regional Police Station were Lee, 25, Hyo, 24, another Lee, 24, and another Yang, 15. Currently they have been committed and are in trial court. According to the arraignment at the Changwon District Prosecutor, middle schoolers Yang, Hyo, and Jong had a senior-junior relationship with Lee and the others. The victim, Yoon, had spent time with Kim, 24, who was friends with Hyo, 25. Going back to this past March 15, Yoon had recently started her first year of high school. Following Kim, she left home and went with him to Busan. They stayed together in an inn there. Kim and the others uploaded information about Yoon to look for a man for her to meet, and pressured Yoon into sex work. This sex work is how they made money for living expenses. On March 29, when Kim and the others found out that Yoon's father reported her disappearance, she was sent back home to set her father's mind at ease. They made her promise not to tell anyone about being forced into sex work. However, fearing she would tell someone, the next day on the 30th, they found her at her church, made her get into a car, and took her to an Ulsan motel. Yoon was dragged from motel to perform sex work in Ulsan and Daegu. On April 4, Yoon used a motel computer to access Facebook. The men accused her of leaking their location and hit her in anger. From that point onward, Yoon was kept in captivity, the men taking turns keeping guard and abusing her. Lee and the other men watched as they incited Yoon and other schoolgirls engage in one-on-one fights. She was also continuously the victim of indiscriminate violence. She was kicked all over her body. Electric fans and canisters of F-Killer, among other products, were thrown at her. She was forced to drink 2 bottles of soju from an empty bowl of naengmyeon, cold noodles. When she got sick, they also forced her to lick up and eat her own vomit. As the crimes continued, they also became more severe. Unable to withstand the torment, Yoon asked, "I got hit so much and it's so stuffy, can I get a little water?" As soon as she made the request, one person threw boiling water on her arm. After that, 2 people poured boiling water onto Yoon's body several times. Yoon's body was completely destroyed. Blisters formed all over her body from the burns, and her skin began to peel off. Due to the ongoing violence and forced drinking, it was also becoming difficult to keep down water. Yet the accused gave Yoon orders to sit down then stand up 100 times, and whenever Yoon said, "I want to go home," she was beaten. Unable to steady her body, Yoon was ordered to memorize the multiplication table. When she couldn't answer correctly, she was beaten and suffered torment that, the accused, appeared to enjoy watching. If someone grew tired of tormenting Yoon, another person would come to beat her. Yoon was also asked frightening questions. Someone asked her, "If you died, what would you take with you?" If she answered the question, some of the teenage girls would beat her without end. During one of these beatings, one girl hit Yoon with a paving stone. On April 10 at 30 minutes past midnight, in a parking lot near a Daegu motel, Yoon, crouching on the floor of the backseat of the car, died of shock and dehydration caused by the pain leading to heart arrest. Even after her death, Yoon was the victim of horrible crimes. The 7 gathered to make plans to bury Yoon's body in a mountain, and the next day, the 11th, they all headed to an orchard in Gyeongnam, Changneongun. The 3 men poured gasoline onto Yoon's face and set it afire so it would turn black and obscure her identity. 3 days later, worried about getting caught, the 3 men met with 2 of the teenage girls and buried the body in a hill in the same area. To cover up evidence of the crime, they poured cement over the body and covered the entire thing in stones and dirt. After secretly burying Yoon, the 3 men along with Yang, 15, went to Taejun and murdered once again. Lee and the others planned on also having Yang do sex work. However, when the client realized he was being conned, he was hit with a blunt object and killed. Yoon's father is at a loss for words over the cruel nature of the crimes. "I can't forget that day she came home. She was terrified, crying, and I can't forget what she said to me. She told me that she was forced to sell sex and was tortured, only being given 1 bite to eat a day. She was worried they would come to find her," he recounted. Mr. Yoon had a special relationship with his daughter. He doted on her as she came to him at a late age, but he worries his love wasn't enough. Mr. Yoon drove to manage the family, but it was never enough for their circumstances. He divorced Yoon's alcoholic mother and moved to Gimhae, but she was ostracized by her friends for not knowing Gyeongsang dialect and couldn't adjust to the new school. "Every time she was shunned by her friends, my heart ached for her," he said, holding back tears. More recently, she had been faithfully attending church and made friends there. She was excited to become a high schooler, but she never even got the chance to wear her school uniform. After the incident, Mr. Yoon, even while creating a new business, visited Changwon and Taejun to make an appeal to punish the accused. "As I went to find my daughter's burial site, I shook from fear, and thinking of my child I felt resentment and anger. Whenever I watch the trial, I hear those kids repeating the word regret, and the whole world seems to be crashing down. They should receive punishment equal to the cruelty of their crimes, and may no other child be victimized like my daughter was."